Hello and welcome back to Bookish. Today I have a tag video, even though it's not Tag Tuesday. This tag is the Burden of Proof tag created by Britta Bohler in honor of Jaclyn from 6 Minutes for Me passing of the Texas bar exam. Congratulations, Jaclyn. If you haven't checked out Jaclyn's channel, you really should. She has a lovely channel and she does a lot of really interesting book reviews and discussions, and of course, if you're subscribed to me and somehow you're not subscribed to Britta Bohler's channel, you need to correct that right now. I'll wait. Okay, so you should have had time to go over and click on her channel. So I have the prompts on my phone. I'm not going to try to read the Latin legal terms, but these all have to do with, the prompts are all related to the legal profession or to the law in some way. So here we go. Prompt number 1 is Billable Hours, a book in which money plays an important role. So I chose Ironweed by William Kennedy. This won the Pulitzer Prize, I think, back sometime in the 1980s. I believe it was made into a movie. Yes, it was, starring Jack Nicholson and Meryl Streep, which I saw. I really didn't care for the movie very much, but I have a feeling it's one of those movies which Meryl Streep might have won an Oscar for. It essentially tells the story about, poor people during the Great Depression, desperately poor, homeless people during the Great Depression, what drove them to that, how they struggle through that, and in many ways, I think it's an incredibly moving portrayal of the difficulties of the Great Depression. I read this book a long time ago, and I haven't reread it since. I don't know how well it holds up, but I remember being moved by the story at the time, and of course money plays a really important role in Ironweed because many of the characters are constantly trying to raise small amounts of money, and their lack of money is what's important. So prompt number 2 is for a modern classic with a legal twist. I reviewed this book on my channel already. It's In the Lake of the Woods by Tim O'Brien. And essentially it is a book that centers around the disappearance of a man's wife and essentially whether or not he is guilty of killing her or if she just ran away. And I guess the legal twist in it is, well, I'm not going to tell you because that would be a spoiler. But it's a really good book, a really powerful, I think, psychological drama, kind of mystery, kind of character study. I really, really, really liked it. And so that's the book I chose for a book with a legal twist. Prompt number 3 was construction law, which I believe Britta said is actually Jaclyn's specialty, or it was when she practiced law in her home country of Australia. She's a relatively recent immigrant to the United States and Texas. So the book I chose with a complicated structure, the construction prompt says, choose a book that dazzled you with its complex structure. So I went with Let the Great World Spin by Colin McCann. This is a book that got a lot of attention when it was first published. It was published some time ago now, but it seems to have faded. I will just tell you, this is a remarkable novel. If you haven't read this, go out and pick it up. And what makes it qualify for this, kind of dazzling construction is that it involves a large group of characters, some of whom never meet, but whose lives are all touched by events that happen to some of them, have an impact that kind of ripple outward and affect a much larger group of people. And it's just really, in lots of ways, beautiful and sad and poignant, and at the same time kind of strangely life-affirming. It's just a really good book, and it definitely has a complex structure. How the author weaves all those stories and narrative lines together so well. It creates so many characters that are unique and that you care about, and that in a relatively short novel you can kind of get insight into their motivations is really remarkable. And I really recommend this book, as like I did with In the Lake of the Woods. Hang on, I'm going to let my dogs in. So prompt number 4 says the Franklin Rule of Evidence, and it says to choose a book with an unreliable narrator. Well, this is not one of those things where I can think of a lot of examples of it. I'm sure people in the comments section, by the way, feel free to do this, will tell me all kinds of books that I've read that have unreliable narrators. But the only one I could think of off the top of my head was Paul from The Only Story by Julian Barnes. This book came out I think it came out last year. I'm kind of a Julian Barnes fan, even though a lot of his books lately haven't impressed me all that much, and neither did this one really. But one of the things that keeps bringing this book up in my mind, and I left a comment about this on someone else's channel, is that I read reviews of this book, and I don't think those people read the same book I read, because I think they buy into Paul's narration, and I don't trust him any further than I could throw him. Even though he doesn't seem like a particularly big person, I don't think you could throw him very far. Anyway, that's my choice for a book with an unreliable narrator. Prompt 5 is Roe versus Wade. Choose a book with a strong female character. Well, there were lots of choices here, and as a matter of fact, yeah, I think in 2 of the other books I have, they're good examples of strong female characters. But I chose Anne Elliot from Persuasion primarily because I don't think I've gotten to talk about how much I really love Persuasion by Jane Austen. This is my favorite Jane Austen, and I'll take Anne Elliot over Elizabeth Bennet any day of the week and twice on Sunday. I just find her to be a remarkably strong character and part of her strength is that she learns from her mistakes. She is in a position to make several mistakes after her initial mistake in turning down Commander Wentworth's offer of marriage. She's in a position to make lots of mistakes. She's misled by a relatively feckless father and sisters who I don't think are very reliable. And in the end, she comes out and she makes the decision that she wants to make. And she lives the life that she wants to lead. And I really think that is remarkable. And I'll just tell you, I think Anne Elliot is a far more impressive character than Elizabeth Bennet. Go ahead and at me on that if you want to. Let's see. Prompt number 6 is Grand Jury, a book with a grand set of characters. Well, I'm choosing The Master and Margarita by Mikhail Bulgakov. You've got a writer who's referred to as the Master. You've got various editors. You've got show people. You've got actual Satan. You've got other various imps and demons. You've got witchcraft. You've got a grand ball of the damned. I mean, you're talking about some characters. When the devil shows up and a demon in the form of a black cat shows up, that's some pretty grand cast of characters. If you have not read The Master and Margarita, let me just tell you, this is a unique reading experience. It is a great book. It is a confusing book. It is a mysterious book, and it is an incredibly richly rewarding book. So that's my choice for a book with a grand set of characters. Let's see. Prompt 7 is Malpractice, a book you love that features an unlikable character, preferably a professional. Well, I chose Mario Vargas Llosa's Feast of the Goat. The unlikable character is the former dictator of the Dominican Republic, Trujillo, and he is as unlikable and as loathsome a character as I've ever found, and he was a real person, which I think makes it even better, worse. By the way, the female character in this novel is an incredibly strong female character as well. And I like this book a lot. My favorite book by Mario Vargas Llosa is The Storyteller, which is really kind of an ingenious book, which I almost picked for another category of this. So The Feast of the Goat by Mario Vargas Llosa, that's my pick for a book with an unlikable character. And then there are 2 bonus questions. So prompt number 8 is a South African author you love. Well, my favorite South African author is J.M. Coetzee. And this is a book of Coetzee's literary essays called Inner Workings, which is really interesting, which he talks about the work of all kinds of writers, many of which we've all heard about and talked about. But I've also read by Coetzee. I've read Disgrace, I've read Slow Man, I've read Diary of a Bad Year. I think that easily makes him my favorite South African writer. So bonus prompt number 8 is a book about animals in an unusual setting. I chose Gould's Book of Fish. This is a book set in the time period in which Tasmania was used as a prison colony. So Jaclyn, I think this also kind of qualifies then as an Australian book. It has these beautiful illustrations of reproductions of illustrations of fish before every chapter. The chapters actually have different color ink depending on the fish that Gould used to, well, I guess he killed the fish, to somehow make ink from their blood or from their bodily fluids. And the reason why it's animals in an unusual setting is that Gould is confined to a cell, a prison cell that floods during 2 high tides, and so they're actually fish that swim into his prison cell. And that's my Animals in an Unusual Setting book. So there you go. That is the Burden of Proof tag created by Britta Bohler in honor of Jaclyn from 6 Minutes for Me. I'll of course leave links to both of their channels down below, links to Britta's original tag video. Sorry it's taking me so long to do this, but it was a fun tag. Let me know what you think about my choices, and as always, thank you for watching.